Welcome home, Barry family. Rita and Jerry Barry, grandparents and parents and extraordinaires. And we want to welcome you to home where faith and family meet. My name is Father Tim Donovan, parochial vicar here at St. Bonaventure Parish in Huntington Beach. Our co-host Pam Hurwitz is not able to join us today, but we're very excited to have this opportunity to reflect on the gift of being grandparents in our world today, and especially the opportunity that provides us. And so welcome to home.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you on today.
Thank you, Father.
I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves and to tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, like Father alluded, we're Jerry and Rita Barry. We've been here since the early warehouse days. Now I'm dating myself. We have 4 children, 12 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchildren. We finally made it official. Now we are great-grandchildren.
Great.
I mean, great-grandparents. I'm
Nice.
sorry, yes.
When did that happen?
3 years ago.
Okay, nice.
3 years ago.
Beautiful.
But we do act like grandchildren sometimes, so that's how that fits in.
Very good. Rita, would you like to share anything with us about who you are?
Well, this has been our home most of our lives. We came to California in 1964 and was at Blessed Sacrament for a while until this parish was formed, and then came to St. Bonaventure's, and this has been our home all these years. And we have kept real close to the church because with our backgrounds, not having role models on how to raise children, we needed every help we could get. We went to every seminar or anything that the church offered so that we could learn, and it would help us in raising our children. Because when we came here, our oldest was only under 2 years old. So the church has been our cloak, our protection for all these years. So now our children are grown, and as Jerry said, we have 12 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild, of which we're thrilled.
Beautiful, and it's so good to hear that the church has been a support to you in raising your children. I think sometimes, especially maybe more recently, it's that we've not done such a great job in that, or maybe we've not responded so well to the signs of the times. And one of our hopes that this podcast will be kind of a response to that, to give people something to model off of, some inspiration, some ability to say, maybe I could try that, and maybe I could try that with my grandchildren or my children, and to see how that goes. I love grandparents. I only have actually 1 grandparent left, sadly. It's my grandfather on my dad's side. But grandparents have always been very special to me. It was actually my grandmother who was the first one to say to me, she says, you know what, whatever you do with your life, you're going to be good at that. And kind of when I was the first one I told that I was going to become a priest, and she was always the one that was most supportive in that. And there's a certain, I think, distance that grandparents have, and a certain wisdom that they have that gives them that ability to speak really beautiful truths into the lives of their grandchildren. And having that awesome opportunity to do that on a regular basis is such a gift. But tell me about what's your favorite thing about being a grandparent?
Well, interesting thing is you were talking about at a distance, and that if there's a distance, is because we have neglected to close the distance. One of the old standard jokes is if I knew how great grandparenting would be, I would have skipped the first stage of having the children, or had that second. It is such a gift to be able to relate to your grandkids, because you don't have the restrictions that the parents have, because the parents have got to be the guardians, the custodians, the law, the rule, and all of those things, and they have to put up with the peculiarities of kids. Like we got 1 grandchild has got the dropsies. As soon as he finishes with something, it gets dropped on the floor right where it is. And as grandparents, we don't have to worry about all of those things, because those are parent responsibilities. The unfortunate part of it is parents have a ton of other responsibilities that takes them away from just the the ability to be grandparents, and that's to love unconditionally. We can love our kids, grandkids, and we make a point to do that. We just love them unconditionally. We don't evaluate anything when they come over. If they got the dropsies, we just ask them, we help them, and grab the stuff and say, hey, let's put it over here where it's nice and clean, and Grandma doesn't trip over it. And then you just work at wherever they happen to be. Our role today is just to love them where they are, and we don't have to worry about the parenting part. We're just there to love them, to reaffirm them. I once got into a situation where a parent was really reprimanding the child almost too much. And I came out of my normal shell and said, hey, the world will do that to him because he was destroying the kid's ego. I says, the world will do that. Your job is to build their ego, build their self-worth, and so on. And that's the full-time job of grandparents now. You just hug them, love them, and build them. And it is so rewarding when you do it.
I love that. To build them up, to
Yes.
call forth the good in them. Because the
Yes.
world,
Yeah.
like I noticed that we have a really kind of a crisis of self-worth these days, of identity, about knowing who we are, and which is a bigger question of whose we are, I think, but kind of that people aren't able to give you kind of a list of the good about themselves, but they're very ready to give you the list of the things that they might want to change about themselves.
Yeah.
Grandparents don't have to do that.
You know,
and
they can-
should.
Yeah.
Call forward that good and that beautiful in them. Yeah. How about you, Rita? What do you
Well,
love
you know,
being a grandparent?
I think the big thing is that we have the time. You know, the parents usually both work, and with sports and all the other responsibilities, they don't have the time to at least give quantity. They can learn to give quality, but to give quantity. And when they come to us, I mean, on a regular thing, you know, that we have time to teach them to sew or cook, or, you know, they love to make homemade bread in the bread machine, you know, and just wait and watch that timer until it's done. And then, of course, it's devoured in seconds. But, or, you know, to play games. We're a game family. Okay, every new game, you know, and even old games, you know, pick up sticks and marbles. I mean, they love doing all these things. And, but I think while you're doing these things with them, you're able to give them loving touch, hugs, and you're able to reflect to them the good things you see, and when they do something special, to verbalize it to them. And I have a thing that I do whenever I send a birthday card, Christmas card, or whatever. I don't just say love grandma, you know, grandpa. I write you know, a whole page there of things that I picked up since the last time I've seen them, and reflect back to them these good things that I saw about them. And I think that, you know, that's really important because, like you said, you know, it's so hard to have a good self-image in today's culture.
It's a beautiful opportunity that you have to kind of see those things, but a cool way to kind of communicate them as well, both verbally at that moment while they're in that moment, but also to kind of catch them off guard by a card in the mail. I mean, that's even more rare these days.
yeah.
Huh?
It's interesting. Her cards are now expectations. She sent one out, and she had, it was a timing issue, and she didn't do that. She just signed it, and this person got ready to share it all with everybody. He says, Mom and Dad, you got to sit down and listen to what Grandma has said about me. And she just said, I love you, or something like, you're great, I love you. So poor Grandma learned from that one. Now she makes sure
Of course, you have a good opportunity, too, in the church when they make a retreat or when they make the confirmation to really, you know, express all of those things to them. And especially about faith.
And then
You
we have
know.
on our confirmation retreat, they hang these Chinese boxes, they call them, up on the wall, and the leaders or other teens have an opportunity to write these kind of notes of affirmation, words of affirmation to each other. It's a very beautiful thing. As you can see, like, you can call out the good, and maybe because, oftentimes we don't see the good in ourselves. We only see the kind of negatives like we talked about, but to have someone else see that in you is a really beautiful kind of confirmation of that. How cool to expect that, though, from their grandma,
Well,
sometimes we expect from maybe the people like grandparents or authority figures in our life, we expect them to have maybe only critical words or words of change, but to expect, like,
Yeah.
and to look forward to that piece. Such an
Yeah.
awesome,
It's when they gather the family around and Grandma didn't write anything.
Open up I love you. Hey, there's
I know. I do it to our children and also all their spouses too. I do the same thing. So it makes you very cognizant throughout the year to, in your mind, or write down these things so that when it comes time, you remember.
And it's a training. You've trained yourself in that. You've trained yourself to look for those things.
That's true. Yeah.
Which is that is a gift, I think, within itself. It's an aspect of wisdom, which we want to talk about today. I think that's the greatest gift that grandparents give to their children. There are two great quotes about grandparents that I just keep ringing in my heart and in my mind. The first I got from this World Meeting of Families, I came back from Dublin, and it says this, that grandparents get to be parents twice. And sometimes when we get to do something round two, we do it a lot kind of more different because we've had an opportunity for many years to reflect on what was the good there, what were some things that I could have done better, and then kind of having that opportunity to try again. And really, wisdom is that kind of ability to live out truth. And the more that we kind of make mistakes, maybe in parenting, the more that we can go back a second time and say, hey, I tried it this way again this time. And there's kind of that roundedness that comes from those experiences. The second quote is about, it comes from Pope Francis in the World Meeting of Families about 3 years before. He said that grandparents are the memory of the family. And I want to say if you could also replace that word memory with wisdom of the family. And that children are the strength and that ability to live out that wisdom continued in the world, to continue that heritage of the family continuing out. And a great gift to be able to pass on that wisdom through your lives, to continue to give that to your children who will then live that out and continue our own heritage in the world. In a beautiful way, it connects with our second reading from the letter St. James, and he says this, he says, the wisdom from above is first of all pure, then peaceable, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, without inconstancy or sincerity. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace for those who cultivate peace. The wisdom from above is first of all pure. And that wisdom from above is clearly shared with us to then be able to share that with others.
Well, that you want to talk about a set of guidelines for a grandparent. It really says what grandparent is all about. It's taking that wisdom the Lord has given you and peacefully, gently, full of mercy, give it back to the kids. And you really, at least we feel, we have a real, I don't want to call it a right, but an ability to do that because we can say things that a parent might be apprehensive about saying. We just share from our heart and they accept it because we're old. We get away with it, but they hear it. And I think you mentioned talking about family and where you came from. They're inherently interested in that. They love to hear about your walk through life, whether it's your business walk or your faith walk or your family walk. The kids are really interested in it. Don't overdo it. If you go too long, then you lose attention spans. But they love hearing about where you came from, what you did, and that's a golden opportunity to reinforce all your values with them. It mentioned pure. We can do that with the kids without thinking about anything else about them. They're children, and children are just open. They're sponges. to love and to listen, and it's a real blessing, and you feel it. There's a thing about if you give, you will get in return. If you just openly give to your grandkids, you will get so much love back from them, and you do it without expectations. You just go in and love them, and it's a wonderful time of our lives.
I think part of that purity too is kind of that openness on our end as well to receive them where they are,
Yeah.
to not maybe put on our own expectations of them or kind of, but providing that safe place for them to be who they are and for us to kind of not compare them to their brothers and sisters or their other cousins or kind of that kind of thing, but you know, really taking them individually where they are, and that purity of heart, but also purity of vision about who they are, and kind of seeing maybe in such a way that's not clouded by what we've heard about them from their parents or maybe, you know, from each other or whatever, and giving them that fresh opportunity each time they're with us to be again their best selves.
Yeah. One of Grandma's favorite things is, "You are my favorite grandchild," and she
That's
makes
to everyone.
At the moment,
at the moment. She
whoever's
always
with
puts that
me
in
is
there.
my favorite at the moment.
So at the moment, it's kind of under the breath at the end.
Yeah, that's clear. Just as clear.
It's very clear. They understand very clear. But anyway, I think I had a very strong desire because of my background to pass the faith on to our children, as I said. But with the grandchildren, I realized a few years ago, so purposely trying to think of how can I touch them in some way or whatever spiritually. So if they're at the house and we go to bed, I always go up with them at prayer time. And not just, when they're little, I lay me down to sleep, a prayer. When they're done, kind of having them stop and think how God has been part of their life, today, or yesterday, or who to pray for. Sometimes they know many people that are going through real illnesses, and we'll, encourage them to pray for those people too. And also, one of the things with a grandson, he was between ages 14 and 16. I found that he hadn't made his confirmation yet. So I didn't want to, because we always try to give a real nice Bible to them when they make confirmation. So his mother decided that the chicken soup for the teenage soul would be a perfect thing for us. And he lives quite a distance away, so we do it by texting. Okay, so he would read a story every day, the short stories, and we would comment on it. And there's always an opportunity to put wisdom and the importance of wise choices and things like that you can pass on, very casually in the response. And this went on for like 2 years at that age. And the stories were all about bullying or girlfriends or important things in their life. And I found that very helpful. And Jerry could probably share quickly, how on the upper level, once they received the Bible, how he responded with another grandchild.
I've been really blessed with all my grandchildren, but one in particular that when he got confirmed, we gave him a Bible, and the Lord inspired me because I wouldn't have thought of it. But anyhow, one day I just says, "Hey, Christopher, you're probably not going to read this thing, and I know how you feel because I'm the same way. Let's start reading scriptures together." So, and we just do maybe 20 verses maximum, but then we reflect on what message we got out of it. And I figured, boy, if we can just get through one story. That was 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he has consistently and we do it every night together with the exception of Sundays. Sunday's our day of rest. And it has been such a bonding tool for us. And it's an opportunity to share values and where we are in life. And if
If
you
we'd
get
lear-
to do that, it
Yeah.
is such a blessing. I feel so close to this guy. I mean, I
Well,
love
if-
all the other ones, but this is really
If we
neat.
had known earlier, we would have tried with others. This is something we didn't know would work.
Yeah.
And so now we're reaching out to others who are interested to do the same thing. But that's just one thing that we're trying.
And what a huge gift that you're giving each other as well. I think sometimes we
Yes.
think like I'll be able to share wisdom to them,
Yeah.
but they're also sharing wisdom to us.
Oh, you get so, yes.
And it's also this
so
reality
much
that
wisdom
they
there.
have-
I'm amazed at the things that he reads into these scriptures. That I went, wow, and you're right. It is a two-way thing. It's not me helping him. It's each of us inspiring and sharing wisdom with each other, because
Right.
we get wisdom at different ages, and he's very wise too. So it has been a gift beyond giving. It's wonderful.
Beautiful. And the gospel for this coming Sunday as well. It's a beautiful line, which I've been learning a lot more about in my life as a priest as well. But he says this, he brings these disciples apart and to teach them about like what it means to be first and last in the kingdom of heaven. He brings a child in and he says, whoever receives one child as this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important because God has always identified those who will inherit the kingdom of God as children. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think, both for, a couple of reasons. Is their simplicity, but also their like need for God. Okay. Because they need so much for God's grace to be in their life, his care for them in order for them to really be a part of that family. And so much of that is a gift of grandparenting as well, as receiving that child such as these, being able to care for these children and also seeing God within each one of them, but also the gift of them receiving you as well and what you have to say. And it's amazing. I told parents this at the parent meeting for confirmation. I said, the best gift that you can give a teenager is to listen to them for 15 minutes and to say nothing and respond. That just listen to what they want to talk about. And when they know that you're willing to listen to what they want to talk about, they're willing then to listen to what you want to talk about as well in return. There's this kind of a beautiful exchange, which is what a relationship's all about, huh? Mm-hmm. Is this like appreciation, valuing within each other that kind of on a random basis or question for us today is, what is kind of maybe a truth that you have learned from one of your children or grandchildren by receiving them in that same way that, when receiving them, we receive the Father? Is there something that kind of stands out for you? Something maybe a surprising thing that you've learned, or kind of a random thing maybe that you wouldn't have learned another way, but maybe you learned from being a parent or grandparent at some point in your life? Sorry to throw it at you right now.
It's interesting, in the prayer of St. Francis, towards the end, it says, in giving, you will receive. And it's the same way when you're dealing with grandkids. You think, I know everything, which I know I don't. But but when I give to my grandchildren unconditionally, I receive so much more back. That happens a lot in no matter what realm you're in. But as you get to be grandparents, you start seeing the grandkids and the joy that they can be, and to get a big warm hug from one of the grandsons, and that's totally out of his way he lives his life. He doesn't hug old people, and yet you get it, and then he's back into his realm. But you get back from the kids not only the wisdom, but the love that they have in them, and they share it with you. And what a blessing that is.
Yeah. Well, I'm just amazed at the wisdom they have at that age that has taken, I know myself, many, many years to come to, it seems. It just, at least with our grandkids now, I know that, we have family gatherings, any important thing, the whole family gets together, okay? And whether it be at a lake or whatever. And during that time, many times we're praying, because every meal we're a big circle and praying, and then everyone gets to say something,
beautiful.
and and sometimes you just there in awe with what they say, what comes out of these little kids' mouths, and you just think that, I mean, it is a blessing, really it is, and so to be able to give them an opportunity to be able to do that. I know one time at Thanksgiving, everybody had to write things down on a piece of paper, and then they were shared. They were put in a basket, and they were read later on. And I'm telling you, the wisdom that you would get, from it. And I'd advise, I know we're trying to now to not just have like a big people table and the little kids table. We're trying, because they're getting a little older, and trying to mix us up, so that we can, all talk and we can learn from the young and the young can learn from the older. There's wisdom both ways there, and so.
Developing that true appreciation for each other as well.
Right, and family. And like Jerry said, they love to hear about our background and our family and how we fell in love and how we met and the birth of their parents and, and all that stuff, so. There's so much that can be.
There's a certain sense I find with the young people today of like a loss of identity. And even in my own self, like I found out this kind of like rediscovering of my own like Irish roots is an important like aspect of my own coming into my own identity as a person. I kind of had to go like claim that part, and I kind of went a little overboard maybe into claiming that part but then coming back. And so much of that I think is so important in finding out who we are, because if we don't know who we are, our whole life is kind of like this stabbing in the dark of different places, and we don't have this kind of solid foundation to return to. But like so much about our national identity, maybe our religious identity and kind of peace, that grandparents have had many years to reflect on that. That's really where the kind of what corporate knowledge is, right? Is in the context of our grandparents and having that. One of the things that would ring out true at this World Media Families this last time too was that grandparents give stability in families. That you have the opportunity to provide a stable place.
Yes.
There's so much, like you said earlier, going on in the lives of parents with their kids these days that it can kind of be a chaos a little bit, and kind of maybe the home is kind of like, mom's running over here to get that, and it's not their fault, but it's just kind of a crazy thing. But when they come into your home, you probably have some rituals that you do, huh? That kind of like they can rely on those pieces, or the card that's sent, or whatever it is.
The games that we play too,
it's rich like that, yeah.
Grandma is the game queen. You come in, she's always willing to pull out a deck of cards or any game that you'd like.
Yeah.
But she has another custom that she does that we both try to do, but she does it relentlessly. And that is when she leaves them, she makes a sign of the cross on their forehead and always blesses them before they leave. And it's quick and quiet, and it's over with. But they get to expect
to bless us.
And they'll bless us back, which is really neat. So
there's that, but they look forward to that piece, huh? Is that they have that? It's kind of something that they can look forward to, maybe in when their life's not going so well. They're like, no, I'm gonna get blessed by grandma and grandpa this weekend, and looking forward to that piece. There's so much hope in something we can look forward to. Yeah. That's good and that's stable, and I think that's so important thing that we provide people, especially our family members today, is that piece of hope, because there's a lot of dark in our children's lives these days, a lot of hopelessness. But if we can provide that place to look forward to, it's like, hey, I'm going to be blessed, I'm going to be loved on, and I'm going to be encouraged. It's such an awesome gift that you give them. Is there any other traditions that you guys have in your lives? And you shared a couple of them already, and which are awesome. I love especially these kind of intimate sharings of faith that you have with some of your grandchildren, and
we just
sharing
do fun
in the
stuff
circles.
too.
I love that. Yeah.
I will get all kinds of little tidbits that I pick up, that are probably $3 or under, and I have a big box of them. And so we get together, and they want to play bingo because the winner gets to pick out something in this box. Oh, they love it.
Nice.
Yeah. They really do. And so that's something that we do too. And we try every summer to go to the beach somewhere where all of us are there. And sometimes, very tight quarters, but it's wonderful. And things come up accidentally sometimes that turn out to be the best memory you can imagine, you know. Even if you planned it, it wouldn't have turned out any better, you know. So if you get the environment there, things will happen. You just have to make plans and make it a priority. And it's really hard with everybody's schedules, but well, when our kids started, things got busier. We have a staycation, and so our son has a big home, and so anyone away, they all stay at the house there, and they sleep in sleeping bags, and it's a staycation. So we don't go far away, but we do all kinds of, you know, like ping pong rallies and all kinds of things that they can do, and you're not spending a lot of money or anything, and so that's one tradition that we do.
Is it something you do yearly?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Annually.
Now, there's one other one that's really difficult for me because I love ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
We have a standing rule. Grandpa buys ice cream anytime you ask.
Oh, dang.
Okay? And especially Sunday nights after church, at least once a month. And if they don't come to me, I go to them and say, hey, we're going out for ice cream. You want to join us?
Yeah.
But, you know, we were at the beach one time, and it started out with somebody says, want some ice cream? And I said, Grandpa always buys ice cream. Anytime you need ice cream, Grandpa's willing to sacrifice and get ice cream for you, because guess who else gets ice cream?
Yeah.
But you know, just a
Mutual
little
benefit.
simple thing that's a wonderful sharing with them. You want some ice cream, go see Grandpa.
I think another thing that grandparents can do too is to encourage the parents to get away for a weekend, to revitalize their love and their, you know, because they're so busy. And so if you can, you know, like babysit for a weekend and encourage them to get away and renew their marriage, that's real important.
That's
And
a
then
huge
after
thing.
church, for a long time, we were meeting at Wendy's. Everybody, all of them, you know, would come at Wendy's, and we'd pay the Wendy's bill, you know, and we'd get the good neighbor 20% discount. So it wasn't that costly, but it's really fun, you know. So
Yeah, those little
So
things
the-
to look forward to, you know.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, there was if you were good at mass, we'd go and get like a shake afterwards, you know.
Okay.
And so there's like that was a lot of years ago, but I remember that pretty vividly still, you know. Or, you know, Grandma would always have that specific hard candy, you know, at her house very consistently. And if that ever changed, you'd be like, oh. But those pieces are kind of,
Yeah.
or those smells, or those
Yeah.
those visual things, and so comforting. I
Yeah.
think even
we're
when I
the
tasted
Tootsie
now,
Pop
it's like, whoa.
queen. you
She's
know,
a
the
Tootsie Pop queen, and on the Jelly Bellies.
Yeah.
The kids know where the Jelly Belly box is up on the cabinet. And
My grandpa's a Jelly
Yeah,
Belly guy.
yeah.
They give them
Yeah.
that for Christmas every year, a big old thing of them.
Yeah.
So. But what you said about giving the parents an opportunity for spiritual renewal is so important as well. You know, one of the principles I try to live by in my life is I try to do things for others, which I wish that would have been done for me, you know, as I either for the seminarians or for other parishioners or whoever it was, just to kind of go out of my way. Because I know that if I need it, probably someone else does as well. And kind of
Yeah,
if I needed
that's
a kind
true.
word in a way,
Yeah.
or, you know, you're probably remembering back as parents yourselves, just like needing to be like, I need some renewal here, and just needing that gift yourself, and maybe not being able to be given that, but now you're in the opportunity to give that to others. And such a great principle, you know, seek to serve others, you know, go out of our ways to make sure that their good is taken care of as well. And maybe it's a little retreat or just a weekend away with each other to kind of do that renewal, and gives you that opportunity to spend a whole weekend with the grandchildren as well.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
One of the other golden rules we have is give us a first opportunity of refusal, i.e., if you want something, even if you need to go to the store, and if you want to drop a kid off, drop them off. And if we can't do it, just give us a call. If we can't do it, then we get first right of refusal, and that has worked out good, because most of the time we got the time, but the times we haven't got the time, they just call up and say, okay, no problem, go to Plan B.
Yeah.
But give them the right of offer your house. We'll take the kids anytime that's convenient for us, and but you got to ask.
And it gives them that permission too, so they don't feel weird about it each and every time they're, kinda whatever's going on there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
If you could just think of one major takeaway, we've given a lot today about the beauty of grandparenting, which I love. But if you could give one encouragement or one takeaway to our grandparents who are listening, or maybe our future grandparents, what would that be? One encouragement.
step out, make a decision to just reach out and reach for your grandchildren. It's so easy to assume that they have a busy life and they don't need you or want you. But turn that around. It's interesting. Years back, we went to a reunion, and they offered a venue of about 10 things. And we started trying to pick out which ones we wanted. And then we finally says, you know what? Let's just go to all 10 of them. And we had a wonderful time. And it was a case of stepping out of your comfort zone and just going for it. And it's the same thing, step out of your comfort zone. Grandma's just set up a living faith texting back and forth with one of the kids that we would never have expected him to respond. But unless you make that step out in faith and ask and do, you got to invite your grandkids into your life, and your life will be so much better and younger too, because they help you stay young.
Absolutely. And you guys have the joy of that in you as well.
Yeah, and I think that you
grandkids.
always have to have the parents in mind, that you always, make sure converse with them that it's okay, because sometimes that you might have a tendency of having them stay up real late, and they really should be to bed early, so you have to work with the parents and kind of, not do things opposite of what they really are trying to do, like say that you give them so much sugar, whatever, and candy or whatever. That's an example.
Yeah.
When maybe, they got braces and they can't have, something chewy or something. So you have to have the parents and, well-being as well. And most of the time, the parents don't care. They'll let you do anything, But I mean, you just always remember that, you just don't barrel in and take over, you know what I mean? So I've found that's always worked real well,
Beautiful.
So.
Well, thank you guys for coming on and making a sacrifice of your time this week, which I'm sure could be applied to many different things in your life these days, but coming and sharing the joy of grandparenting, but also the opportunity that you have in the lives of your grandchildren, but also still of your children, to continue to be positive light and positive encouragement in the world today, and especially continuing to bring them into a relationship with Jesus, who is the person who's going to keep us together for eternity.
That's the most important thing, that our whole family be together in heaven someday.
For eternity, and that's what drives us and gives us that hope. And me as a spiritual father, as a priest, that's my hope for all the people here in my parish, and that we all spend that life eternally together. And they said that the church is a family of families. I love that ecclesiology.
It is family.
It reminds us really of who we are, that this is a bunch of families trying to help each other get to heaven so that we can be eternally one family forever. So thank you for coming on, and I hope and continue to pray for your families, your children, grandchildren, to continue to stay together and continue to inspire others by the way that you live your lives. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father. Thank you for the effort you're putting into this program to do it, because it's needed and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Happy to. I enjoyed every time.